Hello YouTube, it is your boy B3 with some sexy dog ass. You like that? You furry fucks. But today we're doing yet another Godzilla fanfiction! I know y'all love Godzilla fanfictions. I said in one recent B3 Reads to send any fanfictions that you wanted me to read to me on Discord. But the only ones that have ever been sent are more dumb Godzilla romancy ones. So, we're gonna do another Godzilla one today, even though the very last one we did was Godzilla. And this one, I'm on the wrong tab because there's a doggo in my face. This one is called Monster Island. It's just called Monster Island, that's it. It's by Ratha Kitty. Rathakitty on Wattpad. It's on Wattpad, so you know it's cringe as hell. I haven't read a single sentence of this story. I don't know what it's about. I don't know where it's going. But it's on Wattpad, so it's instantly cringe. It says it's ongoing, but the last update was in 2014. So probably not still ongoing. I'm assuming it's either finished and not marked as completed, or it's simply not finished. I don't know. It has 24 parts, so we're not going to do the whole thing today. Not even close. Also, though, it's got almost 20,000 reads, which is pretty insane. Here's the quick read-up. Trillions of years ago! Learn the count. Monsters roamed the earth. They were smart. They had tribes, language, and leaders. The future king Godzilla must find his own path. Many monsters stand in his way to become king, but a monster stronger than all stands in a path to be something else. His father. So someone's trying to become his father? That's how that reads. That's weird. Will he be king? Or something more? A god, perhaps? I don't know. It's fucking stupid. So now we're gonna just jump right into it. Chapter 1, Monster Island. Less than 1,000 reads. But this video's also gonna get less than 100 views more than likely, so fuck my tight ass. Prologue. Trillions of years ago, Earth lay unestablished by humans. Instead it was ruled by monsters. No, not dinosaurs. Monsters. Dinosaurs were just other animals. They were no match for these monsters, but they were as smart as humans. Jesus. They had their kings and queens and tribes and languages. They lived everywhere. And there was a king and queen of each tribe. Each tribe had their own boundary. Since the earth had not split, it was just water and a huge piece of land. It's called Pangea. If you're going to write about it, look it up. Jesus Christ. There was only one continent. There were 3 tribes. The Earth Defenders, Aliens, and the Mutants. Okay, so we're getting very Pipeworks video game up in here. The Global Defense Force, also known as GCF, would later be established by humans. Humans don't exist in this, though, remember? So why would you give us that information? It literally has no purpose. There were also an island. That's not a fucking sentence, but okay. Right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean called Monster Island. Only a specific few monsters live there. That includes the king and queen of all the monsters. Yes, each tribe had their own king and queen, but the king and queen on Monster Island ruled them all. The first king was called Godzilla. They just misspelled Godzilla. The very first time they use Godzilla in this whole story, they misspell it. Maybe do a little read-through before you post it. I don't know. And his queen was called Godzilla's. Wait, maybe that's not misspelled. It's not misspelled. They just didn't want to come up with names, so the name for the dude is just Godzilla with a D at the end, and the queen is just Godzilla with an S at the end. That's not gonna get confusing at all. 3 characters with basically the same name? That won't be confusing. In their tradition, their offspring have to take the main part of the father's name. In this case, it was Godzilla. And his offspring had the same name but a different ending. As if a female were to take on a mate, she would have to change the main part of her name to the male's name. Godzilla's name had originally been Baragas. Why not just keep it that? But when she mated with Godzillad, she had to change her name, but only the main part. God, this is so stupid. At least they know how to spell, though. The past few fanfictions we've read, there was no part of those people's brain that knew how to spell. But this person can spell, so I'll give him that. She kept the ending, so her name went from Baragas to Godzillas. They were great leaders. Every monster respected them, even the fierce mutants. But Godzillas had picked up a deadly disease in the mutant territory. When she had returned home, she became very weak. Soon her dark blue skin started turning sky blue. What? Godzilla knew something was wrong, but had no idea what. Months later, Godzillas had told him that she was going to lay an egg. Godzilla was very excited. She was going to lay his first egg, but she had just got weaker and weaker. Soon she became so weak, she couldn't even walk 2 miles to the river to drink. And so they aren't taking... I don't think they're taking size of these beings into account. Let's assume these are all still kaiju size, which would be a logical assumption, right? It would be a logical assumption to assume these are all still big kaiju. 2 miles? That's like a fucking inch to them. 2 fucking miles. That's nothing, dude. My driveway's a 1/4 mile long. Fuck. Godzilla feared for her, and he soon would never leave her side, not even to eat. He only let his beta, Anguirem, guess whose parent that's gonna be, bring them food and water. There are so many kaiju, even just in Godzilla media alone, that you don't have to do this. Have all the monsters that are related to each other just have the same name? That's stupid. Soon Godzilla began to lay her egg. When she heard the egg hit the nest, she closed her eyes and never opened them again. Godzilla, not aware of Godzilla's death, began to look at the egg. It was very, very light blue. Godzilla was very pleased. His mouth curled back in a smile, and he closed his eyes happily and turned his head towards Godzilla's. He put his hand out. Usually Godzilla's would put her hand in his when he did that, but of course she didn't. Godzilla's eyes popped open and his smile disappeared. They could have played that death up a bit more, and also we still don't really have physical descriptions of Godzilla's and Godzilla. We just know Godzilla's was dark blue. So do they just look like different colored Godzillas? Godzilla's? He asked, but she didn't answer. He rested his head on hers. He buried her there under his nest. That's creepy. That's creepy. He never took another mate. He had a son. His name was Godzilla's, after his mother. Wait, so his name's just the same as his mom's? Godzilla lived for another 2 million years, then died of old age. Godzilla's, his son, lived to the year 1600. Now the king, Godzillum, and the queen, Godzillard, prepared for their first egg, who might turn out to be the best leader of them all. So those weren't even Godzilla's parents! Those are his grandparents. What do they have to do with the story? They're just dead now? And now we're talking about, and now Godzilla's parents are alive, and they're 2 completely different kaiju that we're not going to talk about. You just gave us this whole fucking prequel about... I thought it was about Godzilla's birth, but it wasn't. It just turned out to be completely fucking pointless. What? And that wasn't even it, because it was Godzilla and Godzilla's, and they had a kid named Godzilla's, and now Godzillum and Godzillard are having a kid, so they have to be descendants of Godzilla's. So this was actually about Godzilla's great-grandparents. What was the point? That better have significance in the story later on, or I'm going to be fucking pissed. This next one's called The Green Egg. They lost 400 readers between those 2 parts. 400. The Green Egg. There's a stupid author's note at the beginning that really takes us out of it. Oh my god, this is the third freaking time I've written this chapter. It keeps being deleted by this stupid laptop. Okay, one more time, and sorry if there's typos, I was rushing. So this was written in what, 2014? The cloud existed then, FYI. Just saying. Oh no, because this thing is written more like 2016, actually. Sorry if there's typos, I was rushing. Well, there shouldn't be typos because it's published work. The Queen of Monsters, Godzillard, paced by the river. She stopped and looked at her protruding stomach. She was about to lay the king. Whoo, that could be taken the wrong way. Godzilla's egg. Because of this, he ordered her to remain on the island. She hated staying in one place for more than 2 months, and it had been 7 years. What a gestation period for something that's not even live birth. Insane. It had also been 7 years since she last saw Godzilla. He had been in the Earth Defender's territory. She sighed and went back to her nest. For millions of years, the nest had been outside in the open until the second king, Godzilla's, lost his first egg when it had been struck by lightning. Okay. Now the nest was in Mount Godzilla, a 300,000-foot volcano named after the first king. It had never erupted before, but if it did, it would destroy everything, even Godzillard and Godzilla. She entered the volcano and laid in the nest. The nest itself was made of 500 pounds of dry grass with a rocky outline. She yawned, circled the nest twice, and laid down. She thought of Godzilla. He would be back in 2 days. She rested her head on her claws and closed her eyes. She was grateful. It was a lot warmer in the volcano than it normally was. She loved the warmth. She smiled and fell asleep. Okay. A sharp pain woke Godzillard. Her eyes snapped open and pain shook her body. She stood up and stretched. She knew that she would be in the same position for hours. She had laid 3 eggs before, but none had survived. Damn, dude. She crouched over the nest. She yawned and opened her eyes halfway. She yawned again and wondered why the egg couldn't wait till morning. After 4 hours of pushing, she finally heard the egg hit the nest. She quickly turned around and looked at her egg. It looked like no other egg she had laid. The others had been blue. This one was dark green with white flecks. She knew this one had to be special. It just had to be. This one would survive. It was going to live. It was going to rule Monster Island and the rest of the world. It would be as great as Godzilla himself. No better. It would be better. But all she had wished for was that it was a son. Only a son can be king. Only a son can rule. She curled next to her egg and brought it close to her face. She smiled and fell asleep, covered in placenta. I added that last part. Godzillard woke to a familiar voice, calling her from outside the volcano. She grinned and jumped up, careful not to knock the egg over. Godzilla, Godzilla, my king, my love, she called to him. Godzillard, come down here, beloved. She happily ran, half-jumped down the volcano. Now that she wasn't pregnant, she could be as reckless as she wanted to be. She ran down to him, grabbed his claws, and rested her head on his. Beautiful, you're not wrong. You're. Have you laid your egg? Yes. Did it survive? Yes, she said happily. It did? That's great. May I see it? Of course. Come on. The two of them climbed up into the volcano. It's hot in here. Hotter than normal. Yes, isn't it great? It will keep the egg warm even when I'm not here. That's great. I want to see the egg now. Okay, let's go, she smiled and led him to a small hidden cave in the volcano. Inside it lay a nest of dry grass, and in the middle of that mound lay a dark green egg. This is great. Oh, Godzillard, we are going to have a hatchling. We are going to be parents. Yes, after so long we will be. Her smile faded, and she looked into Godzilla's eyes. Godzilla, yes? I love you! It was the first time she had ever said those words together in a sentence. I love you too, and I always will. What? That's the first... fuck me. We'll probably read one more chapter for today. A Great Disaster. There's another author's note at the beginning. This one only has 500 views. Just telling you guys, I get the monsters' appearances from Wikipedia. Well, you haven't given us descriptions of any monsters yet, so why are you worried about that? A monster egg takes 7 to 8 years to hatch, and every year that goes by, the egg gets harder. Ugh. At the very beginning, the egg is so weak that if you were to drop one small rock on it, it could crack. Godzillard's egg was now 7. The shell was so hard you could drop a boulder on it and it wouldn't break. But she couldn't see it. The volcano was so hot, it made even Godzillard uncomfortable. And whenever she walked inside, the ground burned her feet. Well, what's that going to do to an infant when it hatches? Godzilla checked on the egg once a month. Once a month! And every time she went in, it had gotten hotter. But what she didn't know was that the safe volcano would become the worst disaster the monsters have known. Don't you mean ever known? Learn to type. Godzilla? Godzillard asked, waking him up. Yes, I'm going to check on the egg, okay? Sure, it'll be on the east side of the island with my deputy, Angiram. Okay. Sure, I'll be back, she said, walking to the east side where the nest was. She had been very excited for the past 5 months. Egg could hatch any day. Another typo. So many typos. She fell to all fours and began to run at full speed. She skidded to a halt when she reached the volcano. She began to climb up it, but stopped and jumped off. She landed clumsily on all fours, then got back on her hind legs. The volcano's outside burned her feet. What was going on? Godzilla will know. Godzilla knows everything. She jogged quickly to the east side. There she found Godzilla talking to Angiram. Angiram had several horns on the top of his head and a single horn above his nose. His face was long and drawn out and had rows of long jagged teeth like a crocodile. His carapace was studded with long, sharp spikes. Angiram's tail was covered with spikes and made up most of his body length. His hind limbs were longer than his forelimbs, and he could stand up on them to his full height, though he generally walks upon all fours. I want to say, at least they finally gave us a monster description, but it's for a fictional OC monster, right? So why just give them the exact same appearance as Anguirus? Why not mix it up? Make it something more unique, maybe just based on Anguirus, since this is like an Anguirus ancestor. They aren't creative. This isn't creative at all. Sorry to bother you two, but Godzilla, may I talk to you? Godzillard asked. A look of horror flashed on his face. Yes, Angiram, please excuse us. Yes, my king, he said, leaving. Is the egg okay? Is it still alive? He asked quickly. I don't know. How could you not know? You checked on it, didn't you? No, I couldn't. Something's wrong with the volcano. She was cut off by a loud explosion. Both of their heads flew in the direction of the sound. It came from the volcano. We know, you just told us that. Red-hot lava jutted out of the volcano and dripped down the sides. Smoke poured out of it. A few seconds later, Angiram burst through the bushes. King! Queen! Are you all right? Mount Godzilla is erupting! We must evacuate! He rose to his back legs. Yes, we're fine. Godzilla, let's go! No, my egg! She yelled and ran to the erupting volcano. Godzilla, are you crazy? It's not worth it! Godzilla, get back here! Godzilla! He roared at the top of his lungs. But it was no use. Godzilla wasn't stopping. She raced to the volcano. She reached it, plunged up it, ignoring the searing pain in her feet. She finally got to the top and her eyes brimmed with tears. The volcano was full of lava. Then she saw the cave her egg was in. It hadn't filled with lava. Without thinking, she leaped over the mouth of the volcano. She drug her claws into the sides and slid down the loose dirt and ash. She tried everything to climb, but she couldn't stop sliding. Finally, her feet hit a rock and left to the entrance of the cave. There her egg lay intact. She grabbed it and began to turn. And to her horror, lava started to seep in the cave. Her mouth gaped open, and her head swung side to side, looking for a way out. There was only one, and only one of them would make it. She could climb out with one hand. She bared her teeth and plunged into the lava. Her skin bubbled and burned, but she kept swimming, careful to keep the egg out of the lava. Then she began to sink. Only her head and arm with the egg stayed out of the lava. With her final strength, she threw the egg. It flew through the air. Godzilla urged it on, then it flew out the volcano and rolled down the sides. She smiled and closed her eyes, letting her body sink into the lava. I just don't care. I just don't care about her. This story did nothing to make me care about her. They didn't make her an interesting character. They didn't make you care about her. And then she's dead, and it's like, who the hell cares? The next chapter is just called Godzilla. It's short, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. And I feel like I have to get to Godzilla since this is just the first part. We've already read multiple parts of the story. 3, and we're not even to Godzilla yet. Fuck, what is this? The anime trilogy? High five. So yeah, this chapter is called Godzilla. Godzillard! Godzillard! Answer me! Godzillum screamed from the forest, 2 feet away from the volcano, and Giram walked and sat next to him. Sir, we must be leaving now. The whole island will be under lava. What's that? Godzilla looked toward the volcano. Excuse me, sir? Dear Godzilla, he said, charging towards the volcano. Sir, you can't... Oh, what's the use? It's like he doesn't have ears, Angiram said quietly. Alright, Zazu, chill out. Godzilla climbed as fast as he could until he reached the small tree on the side of the volcano. It was tilted, like something hit it, and something did. He picked it up. It was his egg! He turned it around. There was a long Z-shaped crack. His eyes filled with tears. Godzillard died for nothing. As he was putting it down, he felt something move. Something inside the egg. It was alive! He almost fell over. He grabbed it and ran down the volcano. When he reached the bottom, he collapsed and began to weep. His beloved Godzillard was gone. He'd never see her again. He'd never hear her voice and smell her scent, spelled incorrectly, or look into her beautiful sapphire eyes. He'd lost her. It was his fault. It wasn't, but whatever. He could have stopped her, but he didn't, and she died because of it. He bared his teeth and started to growl. He got up and roared to the sky. Godzilla, why did you take her? What did I do to deserve this? You were a terrible, greedy leader who deserved to be killed by mutants. Give her back. Give me my Godzillard. Give her back. He gaped his jaws, and flames escaped from them. He hung his head in shame. He looked toward the water. He was the only monster on this island now. He picked up the egg and began for a long swim. Began for a long swim? Pre-read this before you post it. Edit your damn story. Godzilla climbed out of the water onto Earth Defender territory. The egg was still clenched in his fist. His body shook, and the only thing he wanted was to rest. He looked around and found a nice tree. He laid underneath its huge branches. He collapsed and curled his tail to his nose. He put the egg under his belly. He didn't know, but the warmest place to keep an egg was under the monster's arm. Okay, thanks for that tidbit, I guess. Just goes to show males can't and shouldn't take care of eggs. This story has been very sexist so far, on both ends. Like, oh, guys can't take care of kids. And earlier in the story it was like, women can't rule. What? Stupid. You can't do that. But Godzilla was determined to keep this one alive. It was the only thing left of her. So yeah. Meninists and feminists can come together and hate this fucking story. Godzilla slept in a dreamless sleep, but was awoken by sounds. Crackling sounds. He quickly took the egg from underneath his belly and put it in front of his face. It was hatching! His eyes widened and his tail banged the ground with anticipation. This was the moment he was waiting for. He hoped Godzillard was watching. The egg jumped and rolled and fell, and finally a piece of the shell broke off, and a tiny claw poked through the hole. Godzilla smiled. More and more pieces fell, and a tongue flicked out of one. Then the top half broke off, and the bottom half was kicked away by the little monster. The little one kicked in the shell and fell on his stomach. He looked at Godzillard with big, curious eyes. His little mouth opened to reveal a pink mouth with tiny teeth poking through his gums. That's where teeth come from. That was just a nitpick to be an asshole, but still. His skin was green, and so were his eyes. He smiled and crawled under Godzilla's arm and fell asleep. Godzilla smiled, and a tear fell from his eye. Godzilla, your name? will be Godzilla. The next chapter is called 10 Years Old. How long do we have to go until Godzilla actually starts doing stuff? I'm going to stop there for today. I didn't start with a fully charged camera battery, so I have to plug up the camera. But still, I'm not a fan so far. They know how to spell for the most part, so that's good. I really wonder how old they were when they wrote this. Probably more middle school age. I bet it gets just cringier as it goes along. There's no way it doesn't. So next time we will be starting on Chapter 5 of Monster Island, 10 Years Old, by Ratha Kitty on Wattpad. So that's it. Quick little ad. If you want to support our original Tokusatsu show, if you don't know what Tokusatsu is, it's the filmmaking style that created Godzilla, Gamera, Ultraman, Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, etc. We're making our own Toku show with kaiju and heroes and stuff called Toku King, which you can support on Indiegogo or on Patreon. There should be links to both in the description below. Oh, real far below. So that's it. Thank you all once again for your support, and I will see you all next time.